Hey, welcome everybody. We are back from our
We're back.
holiday, well, just for the day, and then we're
Our
off again
extended
next week.
holiday as you were traipsing
This-
around Europe.
yes, I was
Excuse us.
traipsing around
You left the
Europe.
rest of us back here in the dirt when you went
Damn
off.
right. Yeah, damn right I did. So, yeah, no, it was a really good trip.
Hi, Martin.
Um, Way too much to talk about, and you don't want to hear about it on this show. Anyway,
I already
but
asked him, like, tell me about the food.
tell me what the food. The food is good. There's a lot of good food, especially in Italy. So, had a really excellent. You guys are gonna freak out. Octopus pie.
I know you love
It
your
was so good. That was in France. Yeah, that was what
calamari.
Set. That was what Set is known for. And yes, it was awesome. My brother-in-law was the one that heard about it. He's a big foodie, and we tried one, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is so good."
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, like what was it? How did they make the
it was
octopus
like
that way?
it was like a pot pie sort of a thing, hand pie. They had big ones too, I guess, but it was like a tomato sauce inside there, sort of with
Oh
with
yeah,
with,
okay.
with a
So
little octopus in there. But this was again in France, not Italy. So yeah, I don't know how to describe it, but it was very tasty and a very flaky kind of pie crust. It's really good. I don't know how else to put it. I'm not probably never
amazing.
have it again because I
Amazing.
told
If
my
I like
brother, I'm like, you try to,
you
he'd be the
you
only
went
one
on that
to
trip. Yeah, you
make
went
it.
on that trip and you were wise enough to take pictures of like the architecture. I would go on that trip and it would just be food pics the whole time.
Food.
Like every
No.
day, food pics.
What it's humbling, especially like when you get to Rome. Now, you guys don't want to hear. I don't want to talk about my whole trip, but
All right,
I
let's
think
yeah.
Rome was the most
I
because
have
especially
I
when we
have
went and
visited
saw things like
most
the
of the cities.
Parthenon and we actually trekked out to the aqueducts, which are out of the city a bit, and then
Yeah,
we went and had a whole thing of the Colosseum and that area, the old part, the ancient part of Rome. And it's
yeah,
really amazing when you start thinking about that these columns that you're literally touching were there for thousands of years.
yes,
Stuff
yes,
like that. It's just kind of, this country, we're only 250 years old. So it's like,
yeah.
that's all
It's
you old
humbling.
you're gonna
Yeah.
get. You usually get stuff, and are a little bit older, 300 years, but thousands of years old. There's so much history in these cities.
Oh yeah,
It's humbling in a
yeah.
lot of ways, and I tell you, those people are smarter than the stuff that they could build. They're actually one of the tour guides. They're actually studying the concrete that the Romans used
Yes, because it's
because
still
it's
pristine,
lasting
right? Oh,
thousands
it
of
heals
years, and our
itself.
concrete lasts like 50
It
years, and it's
heals
falling
itself.
apart.
Whatever they made it out of, it like smooths itself back
Yeah,
over
they
and
said it self heals. They think it's because they used a
if
lot
it
of
cracks, it heals
shells,
itself.
and it's like what do you call it, limestone, and it will dissolve and then resolidify or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
then reset. Yeah, it like resets itself.
They're
It's
studying it
incredible.
though to see what
I
it
heard.
was that how they made it because it's clearly better than our concrete. Yeah, so really cool stuff like that. Yeah, I found that the history part so fascinating.
Crazy. Well,
Anyway,
good for you, man. Good for you.
so today we are doing, ironically, as we know, Gil Gerard passed away yesterday. He was
Yesterday,
apparently in hospice with,
what
so that
the
wasn't
heck?
a shock to his wife or his family. But I
Shock to
just
me.
how
Yeah, I
ironic
had
that
some
we decided to do Buck
Buck
Rogers.
Rogers
It
tonight.
just we had planned this for weeks and weeks, so we had no idea. Just it was bad timing or good timing. I don't know how you want to put it. So
Yeah,
we're
so
obviously
everybody
going to talk
stays.
about
Yeah.
Gil quite a bit. But before we get into that, I think we have a whole lot of news to catch up on.
I've got a bunch of news, and it does start with the very sad announcement of Gil Gerard's passing. He was 82. He passed of an aggressive cancer. Where did I put the news? There it is. Yeah, his wife just made the announcement on Facebook yesterday, I think, and he passed of an aggressive cancer. As I was like looking up his obituary and looking at stuff, I was really surprised at how many different outlets, including CNN, mentioned that Gil had come up to Ticonderoga to do. He did two things with James Colley. He played an admiral in Katoomba back when we were a fan film, and then James tried to stand up a web series, a Buck Rogers web series about
A
young Buck
reboot of
Rogers.
it, yeah.
And Gil and Aaron both came to play Buck's parents. And I was surprised at how many outlets mentioned that, and showed pictures of it and stuff. So yeah, he had really changed his life around toward the end. I know he'd had a bad go with alcohol for a while there, but he changed it around and he was doing pretty good. So that is a horrible loss. Another horrific loss, Rob Reiner.
Yeah. Oh, that was
I don't
just,
even know
yeah.
what to say about that. I mean, this is a man who made all my favorite movies, including my number one all-time favorite movie, The Princess Bride. Just unreal.
Sally. You
Hmm?
know, I mean, When Harry Met Sally was one of his. I mean,
When
there's so
Harry
many
Met
great movies that
Sally,
he made.
Spinal
Yeah,
Tap,
I mean, yeah, he made so many great movies, and he was a
so many
funny
good
actor.
movies.
Of course, you all remember him from All in the Family.
Yep.
You know, all the way back to then. So,
Misery, Stand By Me.
yeah, he
Yeah.
just.
And then
I
we know that he was working on Spinal Tap too. I don't know. I don't know if you
thought
heard
that
anything,
got
Rizzo. I
released.
didn't hear
I think
anything.
I think that did get released. It just wasn't any good.
Is it out?
I believe so.
Okay. I was like, did that get cut short in the middle of work? I
I
didn't
don't
know what
think it
happened.
did very well because it just wasn't good.
Yeah. And
So,
in yeah, maybe. I need to go find it. I will love it anyway, just because I love Spinal Tap. But and then finally tonight, someone else, and someone who I was not familiar with, but I've seen everyone mentioning him, Bob Burns, Robert Burns. He was an actor, film historian, cinema prop collector. Like he was kind of a historian of cinema. I know Dr. Darren Doctorman mentioned him. Um, yeah, just suddenly it was like a 1-2 punch of everyone passing away. It's been a rough go lately. In other news, excuse me, before the break, before Rizzo went traipsing about Europe, I talked about John Williams scoring another movie with Steven Spielberg. Well, the trailer has dropped. It's called Disclosure Date. And as Rizzo, as you said, it is right up my alley because Spielberg plus aliens means Happy Mary Beth. I will go check it out. Maybe we'll do it on the show. I don't know. I will go check it out because I love that kind of stuff. Season 2 premiere of Fallout is out already. I've already seen it. Supergirl trailer is out. Super Troopers 3 comes August 7. Monarch, I don't know if you were watching that, Rizzo. It was the companion show to Godzilla, the Godzilla movies.
oh
That will
the
come out,
Monarch.
Monarch, yeah. That will come out. The season 2 will come out February
February.
27.
Yeah, yeah. I think it said February, right?
Yeah, February 27. They're gonna do a new John Carter of Mars.
Fallout
Okay,
season
whatever.
2 dropped today.
Yes, season 2 dropped today. I've seen it.
Mm.
Amazon has greenlit a new Stargate series. Color me intrigued. Let's see what they do with that. Center Seat. Did any of you guys watch Center Seat in the History Channel? I guess they're getting season 2, maybe. I don't know. And then, kind of in big, I have a couple of things I want your opinion on, Rizzo, but kind of in big news. I'm sure you probably just saw the headlines. Netflix has made a bid to buy Warner Brothers Discovery. So this guy's is like the number 1 streamer in the country buying the number 3 streamer in the country. This is going to make a huge juggernaut. Paramount, Skydance attempted to make a hostile counterbid, but Netflix said no. I mean, not Netflix. Warner Brothers said no.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
did.
going
I
to
did hear
be
that. Yeah, I heard that today. First of all, so just say no to Paramount at this point.
at this point. Yeah,
At least this is my opinion. I don't like to, we try to stay away from politics, but
we do.
the current leadership of Paramount is not people that I want to align myself
I think
with.
I agree with you. And
So, yeah, I mean, that's
when
just my
I,
opinion. You guys do
yeah,
what you want. Everybody's free to watch whatever you want, but that's just my. So I'm glad that didn't happen. That they didn't absorb another company.
I
You
agree.
know,
I
the
completely
problem is,
agree.
I'm wondering when the government, although the current administration, I don't think would care do anything as long as you paid. But when do we start getting too much of a monopoly? Too many large corporations are owning
They're
too
already,
much.
Senator Warren
Yeah,
has already made some noise about looking, they have to do antitrust with this, and she's already
yeah,
squawking a little bit.
yeah. It's
However,
getting to
in
the
this
point
particular
where
case, I'd
you're going to
rather
have
be
two big
Netflix than
companies, and that's it.
Skydance. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Rizzo, like you said, we don't get political. But what does any of this mean for Star Trek? I don't think it bodes well for Star Trek at all.
No, I don't think it bodes well for Star Trek. Especially, I've felt that they've lost their way for years as
Agreed.
far as that franchise has gone.
Agreed.
I don't know what I think I understand that they're trying to pull in a younger demographic. The problem is that demographic just doesn't care. They're
Yeah.
just not
And
interested.
that actually, Rizzo, is a fantastic segue into this opinion piece, and this opinion that I wanted your opinion. While you were in Europe, did you happen to catch the poster that they dropped for Starfleet Academy?
The one where they're all laying that looks like it's
Yes.
from 90210. Yeah,
Yes. It's from
I
Gotham
saw
City.
it. Yeah, I saw it. In fact, I love the Trexperts. Did you see the Trexperts?
Yes, who mocked it? The Trexperts
Mocked
mocked
it,
it.
which was
The
great.
giant freaking robot came out with this. Giant freaking robot says the Starfleet Academy promo poster is a failure on every level, one that is guaranteed to anger much of the existing fan base while generally perplexing general audiences who have no idea what to
They're
expect.
aiming for
Rizzo,
a
do you
demographic
agree
from the
with
early
that?
90s. It's
Yeah.
like this teenagers that were people that were teenagers in the 90s that might have watched those, whatever those, it wasn't 90210, but it was of that ilk. I don't remember. Maybe somebody does. And they copied that twice. They used that and then they did it. I don't know if wasn't Friends that used it, was it?
Friends did use it, I believe.
Yeah, so it was like,
laying on the ground.
Literally, I think it was there were several YouTubers that pointed this out. And if you take the Klingon out, it could have been anything.
It could have been
Any, you know what I'm saying? It couldn't, I mean, I really hate to trash a show that I haven't even seen. But it's like everything I've seen about this show is making bile rise up in my, I have no interest to watch.
It's the first time, like, I gave everything else a chance. I'm giving Strange New Worlds a chance. This is the first time ever that I was like, I think I'm gonna skip it.
Yeah,
I never skip Star Trek.
You know what it's gonna be? You know it, and I hate to get. I hate
that horrible Section 31 movie.
That was the worst. We don't speak of that. That thing was so bad it wasn't.
Super quick,
this thing is going to be more. It's going to be more disco, talking about your feelings, emotional stuff. Who's zooming who? That kind of thing.
Segue to my next thing. Before I do it, I just wanted to say super fast. Stephen Schmidt, hi, thank you. We're glad Kent is listening. I have a shout out for Kent, and we'll be getting to that in a minute. But back to Star Trek. Yeah, Rizzo, you're absolutely right. It's going to be feelings, and so that kind of brings to another opinion. I want to know: do you agree with this other opinion? This is Sci-Fi Pulse. I'm not familiar with Sci-Fi Pulse, but they say Star Trek does not need reinvention. It needs continuation. Fans are not actually allergic to change because there was change from the original series to the Next Generation. But what throws people off is losing connectivity. People have no sense that the new stuff is connected to the old stuff. Even when they drop names or put little nods in, they blew away existing rules. They blew away existing canon. They blew away existing explanations for things. It broke continuity left, right, and center.
Oh, I know.
Do you agree with that opinion?
I agree with that. I think that is an excellent way of looking at it. I think it's just one of the major issues with what they did. And I get aggravated when people, canon is whatever the writers want it to be. And the writers will always tell you that, but honestly, if without that continuity, without that base, without that foundation of what you're building off of, if you're wiping that away, everything above it just starts to fall apart. And I think we saw that with the way they retconned the Gorn. They retconned so many things. They're adding old characters in the wrong timeline kind of thing. It just doesn't fit. And I don't know why they feel they needed to add all those people, add new characters. We're okay with new characters. I thought this great. I don't know. It's not a new idea, but I thought, what would be a great Star Trek show. And they had a series of books about it. So it's just not like I came up with this idea, but if you want to do something a little different, do like Starfleet Corps of Engineers. There was a whole series of books based on a group of engineers that rebuilt an old Daedalus class starship with modern technology. It was called the Lovell after Jim Lovell. And they would go and have different adventures repairing or fixing things, whether it be a star base or a planet that needed new atmosphere, those kinds of stories. I think that would be kind of a cool thing. It's not necessarily exploration, but it's just a different take. And, everybody who kind of loves the engineers, they're kind of nerdy. So they think they get with the certain base of people that watch the show. And Scotty was always a very popular character. I'm like, why don't they do something like that? If they want to do something that's not the Enterprise and you can bring in all new characters. And what the books did was the books jumped around. You had TOS era Corps of Engineers, and then you had Next Generation Corps of Engineers. They had kind of this thing. It's ripe for an anthology series if you want to even do that. So, but I don't know. I thought it was a great idea, but what the hell do I know? We'll get more shows about feelings.
Yeah, Rizzo, I gotta agree. They could do this completely different way that would satisfy, that would be in keeping with the old school stuff and satisfy the current fan base, and still probably be interesting
And
enough to
just
move
get
past.
away from all the interpersonal relationships.
Just go back to the
Just
science and philosophy. Never mind the yeah.
go back to good story. Don't worry so much. I don't need to know the backstory and the fact that every person on the ship had a dark backstory that made them weird or why they act the way they do because whatever.
Yeah.
There were people that had good lives, good times, noodle salad. Not everybody had tragedy in their lives to become Starfleet.
Sometimes. Yeah, good time noodle salad. You don't
Good
go to
times, noodle
Starfleet. I
salad.
think that's the problem. I think it's
So,
like the real military.
yeah. I'm just saying,
All right.
it's like whatever. So anyway, yeah, I don't want to spend the whole hour on that.
That's all the news I have. I do, while you are pulling up our drink tonight, I do have two shout outs I want to make. One is to our friend Sue Hersberg. Her mom passed last week, and so we just want to give our condolences to Sue. And our second huge shout out is to our friend Kent Schmidt. And I have permission. I spoke with him. I didn't speak. We texted. I have permission to say Kent just had a bypass. I want to say triple bypass. So, and he is recovering. And Kent, we are all thinking of you, and we can't wait to see you back at the set tour soon. So
yes, get well soon, Kent.
Get well soon, Kent. Mend up.
Yeah. So the drink is very simple. I found this in Buck Rogers: 2 ounces of whiskey, 6 ounces of cola, and a dash of grenadine. Can't get any simpler than that.
That's
so.
Buck Rogers.
I don't know what it tastes like. I mean, it's whiskey and Coke, or
That's grenadine.
It's grenadine's got a kind of a cherry sort of flavor to it, but it just gives a little bit of. You could probably use cherry Coke, get rid of the grenadine, and Jack and Coke. That's basically what it is. So, anyway, Buck Rogers.
Talk about. Wait, can I just say I liked the show better than I thought I would. This was probably my first time plowing.
That's right. You never really watched it.
That's because my age difference is just enough that I didn't often see things.
Missed it, huh? You missed it by that much.
Missed it by that much. But the weird thing is, I want to talk about, when we get into this tonight, I want to talk about how season 2 was different from season 1. And you know what?
Yes, very. And there's reasons. There's reasons behind that.
I kind of like season. Yes, there were reasons, and why we can get into all of that. So all right, dive in.
So I do have a certain fondness for this show. This is, of course, post Star Wars. It was, of course, another reaction from television to get science space adventures onto TV to capitalize on the Star Wars popularity. This also came from the same people that produced Battlestar Galactica.
Yes,
Larson. So, and there's a lot of crossover stuff in special effects and things. In fact, as most of you guys know, the Starfighter in Buck Rogers was one of the Viper potentials. Yeah, So there's a ton of stuff. But take us back to 1979. They did the pilot / movie. They did the same thing with Battlestar. If you remember, they had a movie. Remember, it was Battle and Sense Around Battlestar Galactica. So they had the film that was in the theater before it came to TV. And they did the same thing for Buck Rogers. I remember I got back. I was about 12 years old, so I wasn't old enough to go on my own. But my dad did take me to go see this movie. It's just me and my dad. And I like I said, I was at the perfect age for this TV show / movie. I was 12. I was super hungry for anything space adventure. It didn't matter what it was. And this thing fit the bill to the T. I mean, it wasn't Star Wars, but it was probably one of the next best things at the time. It definitely has that funky 70s. They funked it up. The opening on it was very racing. If you've seen the film, the actual theatrical version, the opening was very kind of sexy. It was probably a little bit much for a 12-year-old. My father, I'm sure, was squirming in his seat, trying to think of maybe he shouldn't have brought me to this movie. But it kind of mellows out right away. And of course, you know the story, and they held to the story, the original Buck Rogers story, at least in the sense that he's a man from the 20th century. He ends up, in this case, Ranger 3 gets blown out of its trajectory. He gets frozen by some weird chemical combination in his life support, and he goes on this huge orbit that takes him out and about. Earth takes 500 years. He comes back 500 years later. he finds an Earth that is recovering from
Very different.
massive
Yes.
nuclear war. And of course, and you guys know that pretty much the rest of it. But I really liked the movie, and the only thing they only made a few minor changes to the movie. They changed that opening for one thing, and they
They
took
did make
out
some
the death
changes.
of
Yeah.
where he kills Tiger Man.
Kill Tigerman. They brought Tigerman back. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
But didn't they take like swear words? Like wasn't the movie edgier?
they cleaned it up a little bit because there was one scene where Tweaky has to go hide in a refrigerator or something, and he said he comes out and he goes, Mel Blanc did this, especially for the first season, I believe he did the voice of Tweaky, and he goes, I'm freezing my ball bearings off, I think was the joke, and they did take that out of the television pilot version. I guess ball bearings was too racy for television
too
in
racy for TV.
1979.
Yeah. But those women running around in spandex and bikini
Well, and
tops,
again,
like
that was the
Princess
other half
Ardala
of how I
was
said I was the
scantily
perfect
clad.
age, because I was
Yeah.
becoming an adolescent at that age.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, people like Erin Gray, who I still have a crush on, and Pamela Hensley, I mean, in those
Pamela
outfits
Hensley,
were just
she was gorgeous.
too much for the little 12-year-old to take.
She was gorgeous.
They all were
I
gorgeous.
was, you know what? I was really impressed with Pamela Hensley. Like, I thought she had great presence, and she was a good bad guy, and I didn't understand why they only used her so little.
Well, she came back considering the series only ran 2 seasons, and the second season she wasn't in any of it.
She wasn't in anything,
but she was in like 2 or 3 episodes in the first season, so I thought they used her quite a bit.
Well,
she was smarter than they gave her credit for.
Yeah,
as far as a character goes, but she was the problem. Her own amorous and
Tigerman and Kane, which was Michael and Sarah.
Right,
Did Michael and Sarah not give you young Edward James Olmos? Like, he was phenomenal. I was like, oh my god, it's Michael and Sarah. He was so good.
Yeah, and then they switched to I can't think of the other actor's name, because he was only in the pilot.
Yeah, the first guy was in the pilot, and then Michael did the TV show. Yeah.
Is that how it was? I'm thinking the other way around. Okay.
Nope, that's how it was. The guy in the pilot was Henry. Hang on.
He did in a bunch of stuff.
Now you're gonna make me look this up. It's somewhere in my notes. Anyway.
But this is another thing I want to say about the show. It had a lot of guest stars that we recognize today. Yes! Maybe they weren't as popular then.
Every single episode.
Yes, it was like somebody was in it,
There's the Joker. There's Catwoman. There's Julie Newmar.
Julie Newmar was in it, of course. Was the other
Jamie Lee Curtis, Peter Graves, Mission Impossible.
Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis, Peter Graves, the original Buck Rogers, by the way.
The original Buster Crabs.
Buster Crabs was in it.
Dropping I've been doing this.
It's like it's like amazing. Marky Post.
Marky Post.
A lot of people
left, right, and center.
What was his name?
And then second season, and then there was a bunch of Star Trek. When you get into season 2, boom, Barbara Luna, boom, Mark Leonard, boom, Michael and Sarah. Like just a million of them. They're everywhere. Watching the show was like, oh my god.
Yeah, it was like amazing when you think about how many people were in it. Gary Coleman. Just it was kind of every episode was like a who's who at the time. A lot of them were hugely popular. Jack Palance was in there. The guy that played on Law and Order. What the heck's his name? He was one of the detectives.
Jerry Orbach. That was Jerry
Orbach was in it. Yeah, I mean, it was just it went on and on and on.
Just watch it. Like sometimes those first season episodes are kind of boring, but just watch it for the celebrities. Like just spot people. It was
so all right. So I know why I liked it, because again, you said you just watched it for the first time. Now, granted, it is dated. It's very disco-y.
Yes, they said Kirk.
What is it? You liked it. You said, what is it about it that you liked?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna tell you guys something. You're all gonna be mad at me. I liked the second season. So the whole deal was. And this, we can get into this with Gil Gerard. Gil Gerard was sadly labeled as difficult because he wanted to inspire kids and not just give a quip and then flirt with the girl and shoot something and run off. You know what? He was right. He was pushing for more serious storylines. He was pushing for more philosophical stuff, and it was generally agreed that he wanted it to be more like Star Trek. Heavy on the philosophy. Second season is exactly that. Second season also killed the show dead.
Killed the show
Didn't
because
like that.
exactly
The
that's
people
not
wanted
what
the first season, where
people
it was
wanted the
people
first
running around in
season.
sequin and feathers and spandex.
You got to go. So unfortunately, again, it was my age of kids that were watching and maybe a little older. They didn't care about stories and being inspired. They wanted to see the scantily clad women and shooting and space fights and space battles. That's what we wanted. And I didn't hate the second season. I think there was some good stuff in there, but again, that's exactly what I had heard, is that Gil kind of forced that. And that was a thing when, he may have been okay. That would be a better, well, not say a better show, but
he wanted,
more something he could be proud of. But the bottom line is, it's a money making machine, and that's why you do it.
You're absolutely right.
And you should have kept. You should have kept.
It was
the
kind
formula
of
you
the
had.
and it was kind of the exact same thing with Erin, because her first season character, so it was kind of the opposite actually. Her first season character, although she was running around in spandex, Erin found her first season character to be smart. She was an authority figure. She was a colonel, and she was in command. And she was just, she didn't take any bunk from anybody. You know what I mean? And then suddenly her second season character, she called that costume, I don't know if you remember it, but she called that costume Dairy Queen Waitress in Space.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. She looked like she should have been on roller skates.
Yeah, she looked like she should have been on roller skates.
Yeah, I agree. And they completely dumbed her character down.
She felt the character was dumbed down, and I think I kind of agree with her.
Yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of people didn't like that. They brought in the other robot. Which Felix Silla, I remember talking to him. He would crack us up talking, because he was in that suit, the Tweaky suit, and it was hot, and he's like, that damn Crichton was a robot. It was not a person in there.
It was like remote control,
and it would break down all the time. And we got to stop down. Crichton's not working. Got to fix Crichton. Blah blah blah. And Felix is like, and I'm sitting in this suit baking, and nobody's even paying attention to me. That, can I get out of this thing while you fix, and he's just like, nobody's paying attention to the real guy in a suit. They're all worried about fixing the stupid robot. Yeah. So,
Felix was really cool.
Felix was great. I was so glad I got to know him a little bit before he passed. But, it was just funny, because he's just sitting there like, hey guys, how about the guy that's really baking in this suit? I'm ready to pass out.
Kind of similar happened on Battlestar. Did he play Box?
I don't know if he did the robot,
or
the
was
dog.
That something else? No, maybe he was
Muffy. I thought Muffy was a monkey in the suit.
Muffy, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe it was a monkey. I don't know. I could have sworn there was another
Muffy was
show
a monkey in a suit. Maybe not. I don't know.
Something else we talked about, where you and I were talking about poor Felix being in the suit. Oh well. Anyway.
Felix did all okay with his cousin. He did.
Yeah, he did tons of stuff.
He was always in a suit. They needed a little guy. He was it at the back then.
Yeah, he was it. He was like, and now it's Roy Deep does everything, but back then it was Felix. But anyway, that was a very, very long way around to go. To answer your question, was what do I think? I actually liked second season better than I liked first season. I hate to say
you're probably in the minority. I know a lot of people are big fans of Hawk. They like the Hawk character.
I like Hawk.
I think Hawk was an okay character. I think he would have been a fine addition to bring him in. Of course, that was the Barbara Luna episode.
It was Barbara Luna. I don't quite know why they were suddenly on a ship. That part didn't make sense to me. But I liked the searcher thing.
Yeah, it was the whole idea was they were searching out lost human tribes were
which was
kind of very Battlestar Galactica in a way. Kind of, but again, that was still Larson, so he could pick from his own thing. I guess. Yeah, Muffy was a chimp.
The first season was fun. It was fun or whatever, but I like the second season had those Star Trek. Like when I was watching the episodes, I was like, oh yeah, I see the Star Trek in this. I see it. I see the original series, that philosophical.
But it still didn't have enough. I don't know. There was just something about it didn't work.
Yeah, it needed some more shooting, like more bang bang. But other than that,
I don't know what it was. It just didn't work. They should have stuck with what was working for them. Because they didn't even get through a full season of the second season, I don't think, right? It really ran.
15 episodes. I
Yeah, it was
think.
only like it was short because it
There
went.
wasn't even like a finale. Like there wasn't even an ending. It just
Nope.
was that episode and then it ended, which
Nope,
is too
they never
bad.
bothered. Yeah, that's back then. They didn't bother wrapping stuff up like that. So
No, they
yeah.
didn't.
I mean, I'm still old school. I think I still enjoy the first season more. I do like the things like that they use the way the way they dealt with faster than light travel rather than warp speed. They had the stargates that would somehow
Yes.
fold space or wherever you went through
So
those
this
things.
thing influenced so much. Like we already talked about how its influences came from like Battlestar and a bunch of other shows. But it went on to influence Stargate. It influenced Farscape. Like Farscape kind of has that same like man lost in space sort of feel to it, and then it goes off to really different directions. But both Gene Roddenberry and George Lucas cite Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers as their inspiration. Battlestar Galactica, the new one, obviously. Stargate, we talked about that. Babylon 5 cites Buck Rogers as some of its inspiration.
Yeah.
Like it was something that I think inspired the imaginations of kids for a lot of years. Even before this TV show, for a lot of years, and inspired a lot of young filmmakers.
Yeah, I mean, those shows, Battlestar and this one and Buck Rogers and even Flash Gordon and Star Wars, of course, those all, and I really think a lot of that, even though Star Trek was very popular on its own prior to Star Wars, I think it really
It was
gave
cerebral.
Star Trek a kick in the pants, so to speak, or a boost, because
Yeah.
I think it brought people back to Star Trek that maybe I know I had drifted away from it after
Yeah.
Star Wars because Star Wars became such a big thing in my life that Star Trek just became that
Star
other
Trek is
show
so
that I used to watch.
yeah.
And I really didn't get back into Star Trek until after Wrath of Khan, really,
Yeah.
and those films, and then when Next Gen hit. As far as really getting into it, I started going to Star Trek conventions in the late '80s. But prior to that, it was Star Wars. It was
Oh
Star
yeah.
Wars, Star Wars,
Oh
Star
yeah.
Wars.
Because Star
And
Wars,
this stuff fell right into it, and
yeah, but Star Wars was so much more accessible to kids. Like where Star Trek was a little cerebral sometimes, Star Wars was just a shoot 'em up in space,
right.
like space
There wasn't
fantasy,
much.
space
There was
wizards.
everything was black and white.
Yeah, yeah.
There was
Yeah.
no deep plot. There was
You knew the good
no
guy, you knew the bad guy, and that's
there was
fun. That
yeah.
can be fun for people, and I see why they glom onto it. Jeff Rubel is just saying that NBC is notorious for treating sci-fi like total garbage. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. A lot of the networks, like sci-fi, was the low man on the totem pole for many
Well,
years.
it's
only
funny
kind
because
of
you say, well, people weren't sophisticated, but when you look at shows like the original Twilight Zone and what was the other one that was around the same time?
Outer Limits.
Outer Limits. Those were fairly sophisticated science fiction shows. Some of the stories were very,
Yes, their story. Yeah,
high
they had
level. They
fantastic
weren't written for
storytelling.
children. You know what I'm saying? They'd make you
But
think
then there
or
was stuff like Lost in Space, kind of a little bit later. That was, they had
well, Lost in
their
Space originally
their
was supposed to
budget
be an
was the
adult
couch,
show,
the
as we
cushion, the
know.
change they found in the couch cushion. So
Yeah, the Lost in Space was originally aimed at adults. It was much darker.
and then
The
very
first season was
quickly,
much darker, and then
very
it just gets
quickly,
silly.
they're like, we have a
Well,
robot and a little redheaded boy.
yeah,
Let's
it got silly
and
pretty quick,
it's
and
just
they realized
yeah,
that their
Doctor.
audience was children, was kids.
Speaking
You know?
of audiences and budgets and stuff, over in Britain, this Buck Rogers went up on set. Now, here's the thing: over in Britain, Saturday night was Doctor Who night. Period. Like end of conversation. There was no, and that was that way 4 years, and it has been that way 4 years, except for this little blip moment in time where they put Buck Rogers up against Doctor Who, and it actually ate into its numbers a little bit. Like it was, the Americans were flashy and glamorous and sequins and feathers and spandex, and Doctor Who has its own. We love its aesthetic. We love Doctor Who, but it has its very like couch cushion change
Cheesy.
aesthetic. Yeah. And so it Buck Rogers started to eat into Doctor Who a little bit, and they had BBC ended up moving Doctor Who like from to a different time slot so that Buck Rogers wouldn't You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Well,
It wouldn't
talking
damage
about,
the edifice of
shows
sci-fi.
being canceled and stuff like that. You have to remember what one other thing is that Battlestar and I'm sure Buck Rogers were probably immensely expensive to make. Of course, we saw a lot of reuse of shots over and over
Tons of
again. Even as a
reuse.
child, you noticed it's the
That's a
same
thing
shot.
that people do. They watch Buck Rogers frame by frame and look for things. They go, that was on that show, that was on that show, that was
Yeah,
on
so
that
they
show.
had to cut, save money where they could, but I imagine it was even still a very expensive show to make. So if it wasn't making huge dollars back in advertising money, yeah, they
Yeah.
weren't going to keep it. There was just no way. It was fine. Battlestar Galactica was a perfect example of it. I forgot what they said how much that show cost per episode to make. It was insane for 1978
Yes.
for the money that they were spending, and that's why when they made Galactica 1980 it was all based on Earth it was just to try to salvage something out of it without having all the space battles and planets and stuff. I mean, even Star Trek back in the 60s was incredibly expensive. People was like, oh, it was a cheap show. It was not a cheap show. It was one of the most expensive television shows on the air at that time. It's just that we look at it now and it looks cheap, but it really,
Yes.
the
To
effects
us.
really
Yeah.
were pretty
Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
even by today's standard. I mean, they weren't, the original effects were way ahead of their time at that. They weren't, Lost in Space was a pie tin on a
Yeah.
string,
And then
which
by
you
the
could
time we got
tell.
to Battlestar, they were like the ships could bank and stuff. That was
Yeah,
like
they
a
were starting
big
to use the
deal.
motion
Like,
control
you guys
stuff.
don't understand.
Yeah.
Making a ship bank in space was a big deal.
Oh yeah, because until they came up with that was against Star Wars with motion control cameras and everything. That's how they were able
And
to
if you
start doing
knew,
that stuff.
like,
Because
if
if
you
you
actually
notice,
know
even
about
as
the
good
battle of the
as
ship.
2001: A Space Odyssey looks, everything's linear.
Yeah. Yes.
Everything's
Yes.
moving in one
Yes. The
direction.
ship just
Yeah,
goes like this. Yeah.
yeah, everything's moving in
Cautious
one
move.
direction. So, yeah, it
Just
was just
super fast before I forget this little tidbit because it popped into my head. Buck's ship was Ranger 3
Ranger
in
3.
1962. I want to say 62, but I might need to look this up for you guys. 1962, NASA sent an unmanned probe called Ranger 3.
Yeah.
They were like, let's shoot up the moon, just check out the moon. And they miscalculated or something, and it missed the moon and just kept going, just like Buck Rogers.
This is true. This is true.
It's gone.
Yeah.
So for all we know, it got froze, and now it's going to come back.
It'll come back
500
500 years from now. It's in an orbit of.
It's just so like weird little twist of fate that both Ranger 3s.
Yeah, I mean, and
So
even
like,
the shuttle that he used, the Ranger 3, if you look at that again, that was a redress from Battlestar. They reused that was a shuttle that was used on Battlestar, and of course, the starfighter that they used in Buck Rogers was almost the Viper. For Battlestar. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, I like the starfighter better than the Viper. I don't know, something about the Viper. I know it's kind of almost, people say, oh, it's a ripoff of an X-Wing. To some degree, I guess, if the nose of it does, but I don't know. I thought the Viper has its own.
The Viper looks sleek
own
and cool.
charm. I always loved. I think I always liked the
kinda,
Viper more than the Starfighter.
Yeah, I like the Vipers too. Like, I admit that.
Of course, the Starfighter you could put 2 people in.
Yeah, sort of.
It was bigger, but they use the same launch sequence. Did you notice that? That same where they're getting shot out the tube.
Shot out the tube. Yeah.
That was definitely, again, Glenn Larson kind of using the same techniques to kind of launch these things into space. And
speaking of ships and stuff, the merchandising for this thing, they went they learned their lesson watching Kenner and Star Wars and all that. And I'm sure there was a ton of Battlestar merchandise. But they went all out on merchandise for this thing. I wonder if any of you guys out there have any of this stuff. There were 2 different kinds, like big action figures and little action figures, and all the ships and like play sets and all that stuff.
I did not have any Buck Rogers toys. I don't know how that happened. I have a lot of Star Wars stuff.
All of it.
I did not have any Buck Rogers stuff. I had some Battlestar Galactica stuff.
And they had in the movie, Ardala's father, who was Emperor Draco, he has a much bigger part in the movie, and they kind of cut him out for the TV show.
They cut him out
but
completely.
The problem is they started that merchandising before the movie became a TV show, so there was tons of Emperor Draco, and then people never saw him on the TV show, and they were like, "Who's this? I have this doll. Who is this guy?"
Yeah, he was
So yeah, so if
completely
you
cut
have
out
that, it's
of.
kind of a rarity.
He was in the film, but he was completely cut out of the TV.
He
Well,
was,
you got to
yeah,
remember,
nothing is really
you
happening.
had a 2 hour film that you had to turn into a 2 hour pilot, but you had
Pilot,
to remove probably a half an hour for commercials.
yeah,
20 minutes for commercials. So
yeah,
it's got to come out of somewhere.
yep.
And that's what. But otherwise, it was pretty close. It wasn't, because I know they made more changes when they did Battlestar, the original Battlestar. There was a lot of stuff that they cut out for the TV version.
Because they try to clean it up, make it like very family friendly and sort of
It was
generic
again.
for
It was the late
TV.
'70s, early
The
'80s TV.
70s.
You only had the three networks.
Yeah.
The censors were much more controlling than they are today as far as what they would let you get away with. So yeah, freezer ball bearings off was off the table.
It was off the table.
You know what I'm
Jerry
saying?
was
That kind
saying
of
he
thing.
had Buck Rogers color forms. I remember color forms.
Color forms, yeah.
Yeah, and Shrinkadinks. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, there's a lot of merchandising for the show. I do remember that. There's a lot. The model, I think I had, which I don't have the model. I think I had one of the, was it NPC made the Starfighter model? I think I had that. And they had the
Oh,
Hatchet
maybe.
Fighter. They had the Hatchet Fighter, which was a draconian. Pretty much any enemy ship was the Hatchet Fighter. It was always the same ships.
And then I wonder if they actually had Hawk's ship with the legs at the bottom. He had the
They must
legs
have.
at
I don't
the
know. They
bottom.
must have had it at some point. I don't know if
The
that was
legs
as
that killed
popular.
Barbara Luna.
Yeah.
Giant landing things that made a little tiny cut in her chest. What is happening?
It was just the tip.
Just the tip. Luna would laugh at that.
Barbara Luna with her
And the two of
feather
them running around
with
with
her
their feather hat.
feather hairdo.
Oh God. But it was,
That
what?
was, it's always interesting with Barbara. She was always a guest star.
Yeah.
Never, if anybody
Never a
can
regular.
pull out a show that she was the star of a show, and she wasn't always just a day
I need
player.
to look at her IMDb. Was she a regular? I don't think she was ever.
She was.
A
I don't
regular.
know of any show that she was
Or
a
did she
regular
do
on.
some?
She might
did
have
she
had
do
a
some-
couple of return, but never like as a main character. I can't think of one. If anybody does, please let me know.
Yeah. Let us
You
know.
ever see her table?
Yes.
She's got
a million pictures.
She's got a headshot of every single thing
Yeah.
she's ever done. That's why she needs 12 feet of table.
Yeah. She always asks for
No.
2 tables and she puts it all out there. Yeah, I'm looking at it. She did three episodes of fantasy. Oh, wait, hang on. Search for Tomorrow. Search for Tomorrow. She did 195 episodes of Search for Tomorrow.
Oh, that's a soap opera?
It's a soap opera, yeah.
Yeah, that almost doesn't count.
Good for you, Luna.
So there you go. She was on one thing.
Yeah. The other thing that I'm watching this show and I'm just looking at Luna with her feather hat on, like this, the stupid. And I was literally reminded of, remember in 5/25/77 when Austin Pendleton's playing whatever his name is, and he's like, I used to watch the serials, and you could see the strings that the ships were made out of, and you could see the cardboard sets, but look at the fun that they're having. That's how I feel about this show. Like when they're doing something stupid and they look, I'm just like, but look at the fun.
I don't know if the crew would have thought they were having fun like we would have had fun.
Yeah,
but,
maybe they didn't. I don't know.
I don't know how it was. Again, there was always the rumor that Gil was difficult to work with. I think you heard that from Aaron too.
Yes, we heard that from multiple sources. It's been
that he was kind of a pain in the ass
for the longest time. I think he was fighting for what he believed in. He might have been a jerk about it, but he was fighting for what he believed in. I'm not going to fault him for that. He maybe just could have done it nicer. That's all.
Yeah.
I think I agree with him. I think this should have been, because like I said, I liked the second season with the more philosophical shows. So I thought he was right to fight for that.
I liked about the first
disagrees with me.
Yeah, one of the things I liked about the first thing is that because they had their records of prior to the war were so bad because everything had been destroyed, is like they were asking him like what there was a scene where they're like asking him what things were. Like they didn't know, they had it like completely wrong, stuff like that, which I thought was kind of funny. I don't remember specific instances. That was
in this show meets a historian. Like there's no professors or historians who are like, I specialize in your century.
Well, they did. He did make a mention. He's like, he got some there when he decorated his apartment. And he had some really old stuff, like a Tiffany lamp and like an old wooden table. And they're like, "Where'd you get this stuff?" And he goes, "Oh, I went to the such and such and saw Dr. So-and-so at the archive or something. And he gave me this stuff, stuff like that." So there was a reference to where he could, and there was a scene where he wanted to hear music from his time, and I think it was like a Three Dog Night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was
Road,
playing,
it
I
was
remember
the
that. He's
Road,
playing
Road
his
to
stuff.
Shyamalan and stuff like that. So because as we know, one of the things that always cracks me up, and it fits this show where it doesn't fit any other show usually, is whenever they play music, it'll always be music from the 20th century or 21st century. You know what I'm saying? It's always our music and not like, oh, this is what they're playing. And it's like, okay, you're 300 years in the future. Are you still listening to Journey?
Yeah. Yeah. Have you not moved on? There's been no other artists coming out
It's
with
just,
new ways to sing about love.
Yes, and Martin saying like Sleeper. Now that was a great scene, and in Sleeper where they were showing him things from the 20th century and they didn't know what they were. One of the funniest things was there was this is in Sleeper. They're showing him a clip from a Howard Cosell, commentary, and they're like, "We believe this was a form of torture." And Woody Allen, yes, that's exactly what that was. I want to do Sleeper on this show. The problem is I cannot find it on any streaming service anywhere. It's like
somewhere.
gone.
Yeah.
So if we ever get to, I want to do Sleeper.
Did you try the streaming of questionable legality?
I did, and it's not there either. So it's
weird.
It showed up one place and it didn't play. It played like the wrong movie. And sometimes it'll do that. Or like this is not the movie.
Jerry is reminding us Dennis Haysbert. Yeah, Dennis has been in a million things. President Palmer in 24 was one of the crewmen on the show. Yeah, he had a lot of role. He had a bunch of stuff in the second season. I was just watching Dennis Haysbert he plays God on Lucifer, and I was just watching him the other day. He's had a great career.
Yep. So. But yeah, getting back to, they had some really good episodes. There were the double episodes on this show.
A lot of double episodes. They
Plot to Kill a City.
Plot
to Kill a City was one of my faves. That was a two-parter. And that one had what's his name? The not the Joker, the Riddler.
Yeah, Cesar Romero.
No. Cesar Romero was in an episode. You're right. That wasn't this one. It was the guy that played the Riddler from Batman. I'm pretty sure it was Riddler. Was it him? Maybe I'm getting my guys mixed up.
Hang on. Let me look. I got them all.
I got to look up the episode because it's not.
I got them all here somewhere. Peter Yeah,
that was one of the ones.
Frank Gorshin. You're thinking
Frank Gorshin. Thank you.
You know who else was on this thing? Roddy McDowall.
Yes, Roddy McDowall was in one of the first episodes. Yeah, it was actually the first regular season episode, which was also a two-parter. That was the one with Frank Palance.
Yes.
And he played like a zealot kind of a.
I was watching the Julie Newmar episode, and she should have been up against Princess Ardala because Julie
Flight of the War Witch. Yeah, she would have kicked Ardala's butt.
Those two could have chewed scenery so beautifully together.
Yeah, that would have been a good. That would have been a good to put them up against each other.
What a missed opportunity!
Yeah, yeah. So that's like I keep saying back. I look back on the show and I'm like, my God, so many of these people were like, you recognize them from other shows, like Gorshin and stuff like that. And that was a really good episode. I thought that and I'm trying to think of the Flight of the War Witch was a really good one.
War Witch was good. And then I just really liked the opening. I didn't care for Barbara. Barbara, I could have taken her left Barbara. Barbara was almost unrecognizable. It took me a second. I'm like, oh my God, that's Barbara Luna. She didn't look like herself. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And then in the second season, Mark Leonard. I think he was in the first
Mark Leonard.
That
was a really good episode. His
the fact that the weird thing that he could take his head off.
Yeah.
He could remove
he played an ambassador, and he's an ambassador with a little thing for Wilma. And so the two of them are canoodling, and they're back in they're back out in that rock park that they all go to film at. We need a rocky area. Let's go to that one park that we all go to. And they're canoodling, and that was a weird one. Then there's creatures throwing things at them. These episodes. Oh my God, it was a two-part.
There was a Star Trek episode where the guy could remove his head, wasn't there? Animated series.
Oh, maybe an animated series.
There was something like that. It reminded me of that for some reason.
And Mark had curly hair, which kind of threw me for a second.
Yeah, it did look weird. That was clearly a wig.
wrong with the hair?
Yeah, the curly hair didn't work for me
But
for
you
him
know
on
what
that
kind
one.
of surprised me is like sometimes you see a character like I've only known Mark from like I literally have only ever seen him in Star Trek. So when you
Right.
see him in something else, but he was still very much Sarek. Like he'd kind of typecast himself as that
Yeah,
somber,
he's kind of.
serious kind of.
I don't think he has another
I don't think
range
he has any other gears. I think
because
that's his one
he
gear.
played the Romulan the same way.
Yeah, he played the Romulan the same way.
So I don't. Yeah. But I'm trying to think of some of the actually look at the episode list for this, but for season 1, season 2, there just wasn't many memorable ones. I don't know. I'm sorry. I just
There was the one with all the little people. There was the one in season 2. There was what else were we doing in season 2? I just watched like 3 of them today.
there's
I
like
don't, yeah,
one
you
where
know
he's
what? You're
turning
right. It
into a
was totally
satyr.
memorable because I got up all the time.
There's another one where there's like a whole planet of clones that all look like each other. I guess that was a very Star Trekky, trying to be Star Trekky episode.
Star Trekky, yep.
Where like all the people on they never remove their masks because they all look exactly
yes. That was the very last one. That was number 13, and they had the mask.
So that was trying to be very Star Trek, clearly.
Yeah, they all had that they all had that philosophical feeling to them where it's like, let's weigh these 2 points of view. And
yeah, there was like the one where
the
one where they're like a bond, like the people went from like a chrysalis stage and they went from like a monster into
a one. And the pretty girl, and she's like, "No, I don't want to become that." And they're like, "No, he got it wrong. It's the other way around."
It's the other way around. Yeah, it's like, oh, how Star Trek.
Girl, not pretty girl to rock.
Right.
But they were just, I don't know, they were just fun. Like even the one like with Jamie Lee Curtis, she's running around in spandex, which she can do.
Yeah, and you remember it was very early in her career, so she wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't know if she had done.
Maybe.
I don't. Well, she must have done Halloween by then, right? Yeah, she had already done.
What year is Halloween, you guys? 78, 676,
something like that.
Hang on, I'll look it up. No, not what day Halloween is. What 78? Yeah. So she had to have been like fresh off of Halloween, just still probably trying to get her footing. Oh my god, so much fun. There was Marky Post. Do you remember Marky Post from Night Court?
Yeah.
She was in there running around.
Yeah, I mentioned that.
Yeah. There was the one chick who was 2 girls, and like sometimes she was really sweet and demure, and I don't know what's happening to me. And then
that was the one. That was the one with what's her name that got killed. The actress. She was like a Playboy model.
Danielle.
No. Crap. Someone's gonna know.
They
did a whole movie about her because she was like horribly murdered.
That could be anyone, unfortunately.
That was a Cruise to the Stars or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
The name of
and
that
like their episode, like Space Vegas. Oh no, the episode Planet of the Slave Girls was like #1 rated that week. I'm like, of course, you give it a title like Planet of the Slave Women or Planet of the Slave Girls. Of course, it's gonna be your #1 episode. And then I don't remember the episode. I don't remember seeing a lot of slave girls running around being slaves. So I don't know.
There were some. There were a
few.
Wilma gets into the slave outfit,
Of course she does. Of course she does.
Of course she does. But she helps him get away. So,
Dorothy
that was Dorothy Stratton. Thank you, Chris. That's what I was trying to think of. So Dorothy Stratton.
She was like the vampy one. Oh,
no. She was supposed to be. She was like a Miss Universe, but she was like genetically perfect. That was her shtick.
Miss Cosmos.
Yes, but she was genetically. It wasn't about beauty. It was that she was genetically perfect.
Gorgeous,
whatever that
girl.
means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what was fun about this show is they bothered. Like there was Allison. That was the dual person, and then Miss Cosmos, and then 2 episodes later, they're like, "Happy birthday, Buck! They're gonna have a surprise party." And Wilma's going, "Who do we invite?" Well, we know Miss Cosmos, and we know Allison, and then she's like rattling off character names. I'm like,
he was like he had a little Kirk thing going on with. He had a woman in every, and then he still had a thing for Wilma.
He out-Kirked Kirk. I mean, people talk about Kirk womanizer, but early first season Buck was like he had women everywhere.
And he was really, really well. Him and Wilma had a thing for a
and
bit.
him alone kind of thing. And she still sort of put up with him with other. I don't know what was going
She,
on.
by
With
the
that.
way, on that cruise to the stars one, she was looking pretty damn good in that one too, because they had her all made up like some rich. And I think there's a couple of bathing suit
But wait,
scenes
did
by
she
the
have the
pool.
short curly hair in that
They
one?
had her like in a wig that was like
I
really
didn't like that
curly.
wig on her.
Yeah. Well, they
But
made her dye her hair anyway. It wasn't naturally blonde. I
yeah,
think
they
we
were
saw
trying
her
to make her
natural
be
color.
blonde,
The
and she
second
put her foot
season,
down.
they I think they let her natural color
She
come
put her
out.
foot down. She's like, "No, I want to do my natural color, which was dark." And you know what? It suited her much,
Oh,
much
she
better.
still looked great. I don't care what you
So
say.
they have been trying to reboot this thing on and off over the years. The last time I heard about it maybe being rebooted, they were talking about maybe George Clooney doing it.
Too old now. Way too old.
Too old now, yeah. I don't know
I don't
who I
know
would.
who I think this show is. I think this show is very, very
Chris.
ripe. Yeah, ripe for a reboot. If it's done correctly. I don't think
Yeah,
it
I would
needs
want
to
to see the
be.
script first.
It doesn't need to be, it's just disco-y and like this one was. I think it could be serious. I think it could have a certain dark edge
It's
to
gotta
it.
walk the line. It's gotta walk
I
the line.
like the keep the thing where the Earth has been kind of destroyed,
Yeah,
and
yeah. The
keep
Earth Defense
that
Force,
whole
Earth Defense,
storyline.
whatever. That's fine.
But I think there's a lot of potential here for a reboot of a really good show if you get
They
the
need
right
to do because that's what made
actors.
Battlestar Galactica so popular. Battlestar Galactica, the first one, the old one, walked that line between the philosophy of Star Trek and the action of Star Wars. They were right there. And Buck was trying to do it, but they didn't quite get it right.
In the second season, but they were successful
No.
with the first season because it was
First season was
it was something again. People don't always. Sometimes people just want to watch something and be entertained and not have to say this. Oh, this is, story and down and what's going on, and they get a lot of problems with a lot of TV
Sometimes
shows
people
today
just want
that
to watch women in
are
spandex.
overwritten. There's like either they're real lazy writing or they're overwritten to the point where I don't even know what the hell's going on anymore.
So
It's
what
like
you're
we
telling
started
me,
watching
though,
Stranger Things this current season, and
I'm
we're both
watching it
like, I'm starting to just not care anymore.
again.
It's just like
I
it's
still
like I
care.
don't even care. What are we
I still
doing
care. I
now?
had
I
to
don't
be
even know what the hell
reminded.
they're
I had
doing
to
anymore.
rewatch last season to remember what the hell is going on, but I still
But yeah,
care
because
about
it was like 3 years ago. But I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm getting to the point where they should have ended this show like a year, like a season or two ago, because
They should have.
I just like
Much
I
like
listen, I'm like
Supernatural should have ended after season 5.
I just don't
You know.
care anymore. I've lost interest in this storyline, and I'm like,
But
how
you
these
know
kids are
what?
so old. I don't know.
The
It
first
lost
time they
its
had that,
kitschiness.
do you remember when Sopranos, like the first time they introduced this concept of like a year-long break? It was a Sopranos.
They were
and
one
I
of the
remember
first.
being
Yeah,
like,
they were one of the first.
I don't remember. People do lose interest and they lose the thread. Like the thread of like what the hell is happening on this story.
Yeah.
And after a while, you're like, I don't care if I ever find out what
And who
happens.
has time to go rewatch everything? I'm gonna rewatch the whole last
I
season
can't
so I know
rewatch
what the hell's going.
anything. Yeah.
I
But
don't have time
that
for
is
that.
oh god, it's 8 o'clock. How did it get to be 8 o'clock talking
I
about
know,
Buck
it's
Rogers
good. It's a
already?
good topic. It's a good topic. It's a good topic. So
Anyway, 2 enthusiastic thumbs up. It's fun. It's
I'm glad
fun.
you liked it.
Like
Because a lot of people go, "Oh, it's so campy, it's so sexist," blah
Yeah,
blah blah
it
blah
is.
blah. But
Yes, you're right. You're not wrong.
it's an adolescent dream show.
Yes, it
is what it
is.
is.
But you guys, it's just fun. Just go
Yeah.
watch it and go, hey, I know that one. I know that one.
Yeah,
I know
it
that
is
one.
fun. I have the DVDs. I bought them, so I have the hard copies, and I think there was a lot of things with the
Bill.
right to the
Oh.
he's celibate for 500 years. Damn right, he had all that build up.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, it's like I guess there was stuff going on with the family that owned the rights to the Buck Rogers story. That was the whole thing that killed it with James and doing it right. They put a
yeah,
stop to it.
James would have gone further.
That was what put a stop to it. Was that the whole who owned the rights to it? I imagine at some point it's going to become into public domain, and then somebody will
I would
jump
think so
on it
too.
because I think
then
it is
maybe James
ripe
can try again.
for a nice adult version. I don't mean porn, but maybe a little darker edge to it. I'm sure there's already been a porn version. And of course there was. We really got to mention the famous Bugs Bunny Daffy Duck Dodgers of the 24th and a half century. which was a classic. So
it's been often imitated.
yes. So all right. So what does
I'll tell
Roy
you Roy
have?
and Phil, and then we'll figure us out.
Yeah.
Roy is just going to do like a 30-minute special broadcast this Friday at 7:30. Friday, 7:30. Just a very happy holidays, and let's look back on the year that was, and that's it. So if you guys want to just tune in, wish him, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and everything, that would be great. Phil has got all kinds of stuff going on. Tomorrow on Captain Phil's Planet he's having a Hanukkah party. So there'll be all kinds of Hanukkah music, maybe some latkes, I don't know. Captain's Phil Planet on December 25th, which is Christmas Day. It's his Christmas holiday special. There will be a reading of The Grinch. There and there will be the young lady Anne-Marie Strauss who played Cindy Lou. She will be there doing it. And I'm hoping January 2nd. So January 2nd, which is Friday Night Freeform, he's hoping to have Rizzo and I on and a bunch of other folks. And we're going to talk about, I guess this is the night where we talk about our favorite toys, nostalgic toys, stuff that we remember from our childhood, stuff like Light Bright and Sit and Spin. And do you remember all that stuff? Did you guys have that stretchy guy whose arms stretched?
Stretch Armstrong. I had that.
Armstrong. All that
You know
stuff.
what was way more valuable was his enemy, the green lizard guy. There was like a green that was Stretch's like nemesis. And if you had that if you have that, that's worth way more than Stretch Armstrong.
I have no memory of that whatsoever.
Yeah,
so yeah, we're gonna do the toys.
Rare.
So the day after, so second day into the new year, we're gonna do toys, and then at some point, Rizzo and I are just gonna do a takeover, which just Rizzo and I taking over Friday night, but not that night. That night is the toys night. So tune in for that. Rizzo, what are we doing? What's in our future here?
I don't know. Well, obviously next week we're gonna be off because it's gonna be Christmas Eve.
It's Christmas Eve, so
I will be gorging on seafood. Feast of the Seven Fishes.
Octopus.
More octopus. I like octopus. It's good.
You do. You like
them. So then the next week is New Year's Eve. So I don't know. I guess watch this space because I don't know I don't do squat on New Year's Eve.
Neither do I. I'm happy to jump.
I can easily do it so on Christmas
on New Year's Eve. Let everyone on and just talk about.
So yeah, maybe we'll do some kind of thing where we'll let people come on and say Happy New Year or whatever they want to say. I don't know, whatever you guys think. Let us know what you think you might want us to do. It won't be like we're gonna be here for the midnight ball drop.
It'll probably still be 7 to 8 or 7 to 8:30 or whatever. But
so,
yeah,
I'm usually in bed by 10 o'clock on New Year's.
Talk about the year that was. That's fine. And it was a hell of a year.
Yes. Well, yeah, it's been a weird year.
Sci-fi. Let's not get political. Let's talk.
Yeah, it's like you can't not talk about 25 without getting political. So
it just keeps intruding upon our lives, whether we want it to or not.
Jeff's asking if I ever had baby octopus. No, I think they're always been.
I've only ever had the rings. I've never had anything else.
Usually it's I mean
battered.
Where my brother we used to get it. So if you want to hear this, so the traditional thing in my family when my grandfather would make it, he would make it as it was like a cold salad with like a lemon and olive oil kind of dressing. So it was like little bits cold. He was very meticulous of stripping off all the suckers off the leg.
Yeah.
Well, no, you don't. You eat them normally, but they would be all white and it looked like little chunks of white meat. You really wouldn't have known what it was except for the little curly end ones. But my brother-in-law we got away from that. What he does is he I don't know if he sous vide it and then he grills it he marinades it and grills it on the grill and it's really good. We leave the suckers on. Just eat them. They're fine. They don't hurt you. We also eat a lot of squid. It's the Feast of the Seven Fishes. We're Sicilian.
Feast of the Seven Fishes. Yeah. So Rizzo and I are both Italian. We both come from Italian backgrounds, and the Italians do the Feast of the Seven Fishes. I did it when I was little, and then somehow the family moved away from it, and that was the end of that. We haven't done calamari or any kind of octopus or squid or any of that for a long time.
Yeah, we used to get more the really traditional stuff. Like when I was a kid, my grandparents they used to do the bacala, which it's a cod. I think it's like a cod that's salt dried, and then they like soak it for like 2 days in
I know
water to
that.
get
I
it to
remember that. And it was white
It's
and really
nasty.
dry. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gross. I don't know why they ate that. They used to eat a fish called
We
sand
did a
shark. It was a
herring
fish,
thing
but it
sometimes.
was called sand shark. They used to eat that. There was a time when they had eels. Yeah, that got quickly removed from
I
the menu.
disavow my Italian heritage because
Yeah,
I'm not
some of
eating
that
any of
stuff
that
was
stuff.
weird, but like blue crabs were great. You know, I
Yeah,
remember
yeah, blue crabs are
blue
okay.
crabs,
I mean, shrimp and lobster are
scallops
the
and
normal thing.
shrimp
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
yeah.
A lot of squid,
Cod.
stuffed squid
But
or
see, here
fried
in the
squid.
States, we would do cod, we would do haddock, we would do scrod, shrimp, scallops. Boom, there's 5 of your 7
Yeah,
right there. So, we were eating much more, and then there'd
yeah.
probably
Well, I
be
mean,
our
it
kids,
counts
and then
too
like
because we
herring.
do like
A
shrimp
lot of times there was a
cocktail.
herring, and that would be our
Yeah,
7th fish. I don't know why. It
but
was like the herring
usually
with
my
the sour
brother-in-law
cream.
he'll do like he's really into cooking and he's foodie and like he'll do usually some kind of salmon, which I'm not a big fan of, but
Oh, I love salmon.
he's modernized it, but we try to keep some of the one of the things that we always have is some kind of calamari, some kind of octopus. Those kind of 2 things are always in there. He's done lobster in the past. He did like a lobster mac as kind of like a first course. Lobster mac and cheese. Oh, it was really good.
I bet that was good.
Like I said, he doesn't do
My
anything
My
half-assed.
brother was like, "Hey, do you want to do a soup Christmas Eve?" And I said, "Lobster bisque." And my brother's
There you
eyes
go.
kind of lit up, so it might be lobster bisque. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
So anyway, it's just a thing. And then of course, at midnight we can eat meat. So even though we've stuffed ourselves
Even though
to
you're
the
already
point
stuffed, it's
of
time for sausage.
explosion, we still whip out the salty meats and make sausage and
It's time for
sausage and peppers. And then
prosciutto.
I added my homemade
Where's the
pastrami to the dish.
gabagool?
So now the pastrami, it's like become tradition now. You have to make the pastrami. So I
Make
have to bring
pastrami for midnight.
So anyway, that's now that you know my whole Christmas thing.
Yeah. All right,
But
guys. We
so
hope
I
you
will.
all
Yeah,
have,
just keep an eye. We'll
keep an
probably do
eye.
something New Year's Eve.
Yeah, we'll do something New Year's Eve. We hope you can join us, and I mean literally join us on the air.
Yeah.
And maybe, and we hope you all have a fantastic Christmas.
And happy and safe holiday.
Happy and safe holidays, and start manifesting a better 2026.
Yeah.
Start
So I hope 2026 is better. So on that note, we will say good night. So live long and prosper, and may the force be with you always. Good night, everybody. Happy holidays.